Hi guys, Liana here, playing Far Cry 4, because that was fun yesterday. But also I need to sort of halfway concentrate what I'm doing, because this requires a bit of reading. So I'm going to show you a pretty picture of a mountain while I talk about the topic for today. I want to address the comments in an article interviewing Jonathan Blow about video games and pornography. And the quote is, this is why I need both hands here, look at the beautiful mountain and engage with what I'm saying. Blow, a slim 42-year-old with a shaved head and glasses, has often spoken about the need for video games to leave the world of cheap thrills behind and grapple with more complex ideas. It's kind of like if every movie were a porn movie. Most people wouldn't see movies. The majority of games are basically porn. The onus is on us to make more things that are worth a reasonable person's time. I could make this a real TLDR analysis of that and just say, dude, check your privilege. But I'm going to go into it more than that. I mean, Jonathan Blow is no denying there is a huge amount of privilege in Jonathan Blow's view on games. This is a guy who had the ability to sink $200,000 of his own money into making Braid. And he seems to cite every influence under the sun for Braid, except for the obvious one, which is the early Mario games. And Robbie Ray Rana, I love Robbie Ray Rana. Whoop. No, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. I shouldn't get in the car because that's just too much crosstalk. But I love Robbie Ray Rana. But yeah, Jonathan Blow. Too many names. Sorry to confuse you guys. But this idea of a reasonable person gets us into trouble so often when we're doing intellectual discourse or any sort of philosophy, because reasonable is actually an assumption. And yes, it's an assumption the law uses, but the law uses it, I think, in a broader sense. A court of law isn't determining what legal goods someone should or should not consume. A court of law is deciding whether somebody deserves to have their freedom taken away, and that's very important. But a lot of the law is based inherently on what is reasonable. And the problem with reasonable is what's reasonable for a 42-year-old white dude who has $200,000 of his own money to blow on a game is not going to be the same thing that's reasonable for, say, a single mom in the ghetto, just trying to get by, living hand to mouth. It would take that single mom 8 to 10 years to see, based on current poverty lines, it would take that woman 8 to 10 years to see the money that Jonathan Blow had to make Braid. So when we start talking about what's reasonable, especially in terms of art and the morality and the maturity of art, we really need to factor that in. That for a lot of people, art is not about bringing trouble to them. Entertainment is not about bringing trouble to them. That's what the rich people that go to film festivals see art to be. The vast majority of people use entertainment to either take them away from their troubles or contextualize their own struggle and validate them. And pornography actually has a big role to play in that, as crazy as it sounds. Oja, who's this? I want to thank you for letting me stay the night. You took a big risk. People are happy that I'm disarming barms and minds. Pagan Min isn't, and that's my life is a risk, and so is the life of anyone who helps me. I never thought helping people like you would mean betraying my superiors, but it does. So I will not stay my welcome. I'll be gone when you wake up. You have my eternal thanks. Naranya. See, Jonathan Blow thinks that's porn. I don't get it. I don't get it. But I don't have to, because Jonathan Blow and I come from very different worlds. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm talking about games. And I'm talking about games because unlike Jonathan Blow, I don't have $200,000 of my own money to take a risk making a game. And I wonder what it says about the video game industry that it hoists up on its shoulders a guy like Jonathan Blow, who has made precisely one game that has been shipped, and crap. I'm just gonna hide because that didn't work at all. The mindset and the view of the world of a guy who has $200,000. Most people don't have $2,000 of their own money to put down on housing. That's why we have mortgages, okay? Put that in perspective when you're thinking about whether he's a representative voice for the video game industry and whether he's even an important voice for the video game industry. I mean, major studios need to really think twice if they're going to spend 5 whole years on... Actually, 5 years is about standard for development of certain games. But, you know, that's a major investment, and most people don't have the ability to just sit back and sound smart and work on video games for 5 years. Because Witness isn't even out yet. But I take particular exception. I feel that it's intensely arrogant for Jonathan Blow to deride pornography in trying to self-aggrandize his own genius when it comes to video games. He spoke in your name. I made him ask if it's you perfectly. Okay, that's apparently porn. According to Jonathan Blow, this is all porn, guys, because video games are like if Hollywood only made porn. Does this look like porn to you? It doesn't look like any porn I've ever seen. Anyway. The problem with saying, oh, porn, and using porn as the big bad scourge of humanity is that's actually quite ignorant. The thing about porn is it's one of the few industries where female porn stars actually make more than their male counterparts. That's a big thing to remember about the porn industry when people start sneering about it, especially, you know, when men start sneering about it. That's something very important to remember about pornography, is it does have that distinction. The other thing about pornography is that unlike the other content that we see in media, such as violence, such as, you know, even slapstick, such as, I don't know, any other theme. Sex is the only thing we really require to perpetuate the species. So sex is a very important thing to reproduce in art. Now, I'm not saying that pornography is at all a realistic portrayal of sex. Don't get me wrong there, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is I can't find this stupid mask. But what I'm also saying is people stigmatize pornography because for whatever reason we have demonized sexuality to a greater degree, and overt female sexuality to a greater degree than we have stigmatized violence. And I mean, there's all these conceits about, this is boring, screw this, I'm gonna go to the next mask. There's all these conceits about non-violent games and all that stuff. If you go back and read the old classical stuff, you know, even going back as far as Beowulf, you know, it's full of sex and violence. You look at the Bible, it's full of sex and violence, right? I mean, doesn't Noah have sex with his own kids? It's full of sex and violence because the human condition is full of sex and violence. And these people trying to claim that things are better art if it doesn't draw on those two universal things, I think is it's very narrow. And that's not the same as somebody who has in the past worked on violent games and been there, done that, don't want to do it anymore, go off and do my own thing, like Vander Caballero over at Minority Media. He wants to make non-violent games that make people better people, and that's awesome. I mean, I totally support that stuff. I totally support non-violent games. But I don't think it needs to be an either-or situation, that idea of we need smarter games. Games are plenty freaking smart. I mean, look at this game. Look at Far Cry. Heavy, heavy, heavy social issues. Very silly moments. But this game deals with the drug trade. Whoa. It deals with shooting leopards, too. That's not a leopard. What is? Oh, maybe it is a leopard. But, yeah, it's a leopard. But this game deals with some heavy issues. It deals with, child marriage, and it deals with drug economies, and it, that's the thing I like about the Far Cry series, is it deals with some of these, post-colonial structures in the world, and these, failed states or failing states. And yeah, it's murder tourism, but it's murder tourism with cause. And when people start saying ridiculous privileged stuff like video games need to be smarter, I just think that like that's just another form of trash talk. It's trash talk drinking a latte with your pinky up. That's all it is. It's self-aggrandizement, and I'm fine with that. There's a place for trash talk, but let's call it what it is. You know what I'm saying? Let's just call it what it is. Like, this looks like an unclimbable rock. I'm calling this unclimbable. Yeah, I guess there's another way around here. But to say that, you're basically insulting everyone in an industry that you want to work in. And this is the part I don't get about video games. The people say this stuff that, games needs to be smarter. And then people trip all over each other embracing this dude. Whereas in any other industry, they're like, what do you mean by that? Could you imagine if hip-hop musicians all went around, like, saying garbage about each other like that? Like, there's the occasional beef, but for the most part, hip-hop musicians are like, I do my thing, they do their thing, much respect. It's lyrical content, that's their truth, I'm telling my truth, they're telling theirs. That's what you hear out of hip-hop artists all the time. That other horribly stigmatized art form because it apparently does bad things to women and violence and all that stuff. And we get into games, and this is the difference between people who have $200,000 to blow on a game and people who aren't going to see that much money in 10 years. That people who actually have a community don't go around crapping on the output of the community. That's rock music does it all the time. It's like, I make real art. And it's like, dude, you're smoking the same weed as the hip-hop guys do. Don't put on airs. And video games are one of those industries where it's the same thing. Don't put on airs. It's not about that. It's a populist medium. And yes, we can have an art house subset of gaming. That's great. Let's open it up. Anybody wants to make a game, go ahead. And I'll give that to Jonathan Blow. He made a game. But don't crap on other people's hard work because they had to make something marketable and they had to make something that there was a hope in hell people would want to buy because they didn't have $200,000 to just, pardon the pun, blow. And these are the things, and I'm not saying he doesn't have the right to his opinion, he does. But I'm pointing this out because people hold him up as like a smarty pants voice on games, and I don't think he is. I think he's just got a lot more inherent privilege, just because of that dollar value. And I think it's important to understand that viewpoint when you're going to him for comment. So that's all I really have to say. I just want to caution, because I know some people are like, ooh, or, oh, he's so smart. And I'm just like, whatever. This is Jonathan Blow, guys. Pull a string. He says the same thing over and over and over again. I'm a genius and everybody else isn't. He's made one game. He's made one friggin' game. And he thinks he can tell everybody else how to do their job. I don't have a problem with people who want more diverse content. I want more diverse content, right? I want a wider variety, especially of game protagonists. I want to see that. I have no problem. But I don't feel like we have to crap on the... Screw off, Yak. We have to crap on existing structures and existing products to... Go away, Yak. To make stuff that's different. And I'd just like to see a little more class and a little more respect for other people who are working just as hard, who have another story to tell, and it may not be from as cushy a life as, I mean, Braid. I played Braid. If you're a navel-gazing, whiny, emo person, I suppose Braid is okay. But as interesting as I found the gameplay mechanic, I just found the writing insufferable. And that's alright, a lot of people liked it, and that's cool. This is where I'm coming from. But I don't, you know, I don't engage with games to feel like I'm in college. I engage with games to have fun. And I guess some people feeling smarter than everybody else is fun. That's true. But it's not the only kind of fun. And I know people are really down for reasons I do not understand on the idea of games being fun. Heaven forbid games be fun. I guess I gotta go back there. But they're games. It's called a video game. So, okay, I mean, I don't know if people consider, well, mixed martial arts is a sport, but it's not really a game. But, I don't know, I just think for all the talk of privilege and diversity and all that stuff, Jonathan Blow is still representative of a white male opinion, and a wealthy white male opinion at that. And why do we need another one of those when we've got a ton of developers? Like, why is he smarter, quote unquote, than Ken Levine or David Jaffe or Cliff Bleszinski or anybody like that? He's not. All those dudes are really smart. They're just not as pretentious about it. So, I hope The Witness is a good game. It looks to me like it's gonna be missed without that sense of childlike wonder. But I hope it's a good game. I'm not gonna judge the game before it's out. But holy cow, dude. Get the game up, get the game out, then posture. Right? That's how it works. You earn the cred, and then you use the cred. And I think people get frustrated, because especially in these indie games, people tend to jump to the front of the line just for reasons I very rarely understand. So I just wanted to offer, oh, you respawn there, you jerk. People jump to the front of the line in terms of having a voice, and I understand why people get very frustrated about that. And now my phone is ringing, so I have to go. So that's that for this video. Keep gaming, guys. Thanks for watching.